Mr. Linnaeus, what are your thoughts on performance enhancement drugs?
Well, I think performance-enhancing drugs are something that has been on the uptick for at least 20 years. Obviously, there's a difference between supplementation and enhancement, and when something falls under the categorization of enhancement, it is usually doing something to the body that is deemed above or beyond the rules of many sports, and above and beyond what the body is naturally able to consume. So performance-enhancing drugs are generally dangerous, addictive, and with regards to overall function of the body, it does disrupt its normal rhythms.
Can an athlete use steroids for a short period of time, stop, and still retain his strength?
There's no denying that anabolic steroids work. All of the steroids, or at least most of the steroids today, are derived from your body's basic testosterone. And testosterone is needed when you're growing and building muscle and, just your bones are growing. But along with that are certain risks. Yes, the way, anabolic steroids are used, they do it in little cycles. Sometimes, they're short, sometimes they're a little bit longer. All of them do include risk, but at the end of the day, there's no one out there that's denying the validity and how effective steroids can be, but dangerous at the same time.
Thank you. Mr. Smalley, do you condone athletes taking performance enhancement drugs?
I do not. I think any athlete that gets caught using performance-enhancing drugs should be penalized in the form that the league that they play for issues.
Second question. What would the consequences be if you caught one of your athletes doing this?
If I caught one of my athletes using performance-enhancing drugs, first off, I think that person would be dismissed from the team for using drugs because it is an illegal drug, and then they would probably have to deal with school consequences as well.
All right. Thank you.
This high school football program has always been clean, going back to when Adam Gusky played here some 20 years ago. And he didn't worry about his performance until he turned semi-pro a few years later.
I thought to myself, what can I do to make myself a better player on the field while not affecting myself generally as a person away from the field?
Orthopedic surgeon Dr. Evan Argentar says there is an advantage to using PEDs.
Performance-enhancing drugs absolutely give athletes advantages in strength and endurance, which helps them both in the preparation for their sport as well as the actual implementation of the skills needed in many ways for the different sports.
You're probably imagining needles and steroids at this point, but Gusky used pills that he bought at a store without a prescription. The drugs he used, however legal, are banned in major competitions like the Olympics or professional football.
On game day, I would do anything to give myself an edge to try to make me as good of a football player as could be.
But Gusky says he had his limits. He refused to break the law, and although he wasn't using anything banned by his league, he says the drugs changed him on game day.
Basically what I was doing was something that gave me increased testosterone for a short period of time, made me more aggressive for a short period of time, made me be able to hit harder, be stronger for a short period of time.
Gusky says hyperaggression turned into mood swings and ultimately ended his career after a concussion sustained from a violent helmet-to-helmet injury. He says he stopped using PEDs the day he stopped playing football.
I don't want to kill myself. I have a family, I have a wife, I have parents.
All right, let's go.
It's not something he wanted for himself, nor is it something he wants for these kids. Arash Arabasadi.
It's deep. And Holmes will start from his own goal line. Ooh! Woo! Wood being laid on the field. Buddy Johnson.
Play action. Mayfield. Pressure. Mayfield gets hit. Sacked by Taylor Young.
Myers will crank this towards deep right center field. Back goes Peterson onto the track at the wall. That ball is gone.
Nolan takes off, and this ball is hit to pretty deep left field, and it is gone.
Driven to left center field.
Senator Petrucci, do you condone athletes using performance enhancement drugs?
I do not. I think that there is enough research out there today that shows the danger of taking performance enhancing drugs. And I think if kids are seeing their local doctors, there's more than enough of over-the-counter type of protein shakes, the ability to work with their pediatrician in terms of using the right type of enhancement instead of illegal drugs.
Second question, what would the consequences be if you caught one of your athletes using this?
Well, we're a zero tolerance in terms of drug use. Obviously, most of the performance enhancing drugs are illegal, so it would be a dismissal from the team. But I think you have to, when you're dealing with adolescents, I think you have to deal with there's a problem there. So to me, it's not necessarily a consequence, but it must be a meeting with the parents. It has to be a plan to educate the family and the student on not using those performance-enhancing drugs. And again, including their doctor, their pediatrician. Not necessarily are you going to punish, but I think educate and help in terms of treatment if needed.
Thank you.